Okay, welcome back to Make Something Happen, and it's reached the ripe old age of 23, and this one's called Browser and Server, and this is where we really explore how it is that a server can both serve out web pages, which are what the browser uses to draw the page you're going to see, and also dynamic content, answers to questions like how wide is the cheese board and how high is the cheese board and where is the cheese. And so we have two applications which we're going to be looking at today, one of which runs in the browser and one of which runs in the server. And this is all in chapter 5, example 9, browser and server. You can see it here, and the two programs are client and server. I've got server open, and this is a web server which has added features. It has a device which allows it to respond to the request to tell me how big the board is and how and where the cheese has been and how many cheeses there are. Not where the cheeses are. No, it mustn't say those. That's giving away secret information. Shouldn't do that. So the width and the height of the grid and how many cheeses there are. And this is behind the response that's produced when the browser hits the address getstart.json. So I'm going to put a breakpoint on line, I think it says line 60. It does. That would make very good sense. Put the breakpoint there. And now I'm going to start the server running. So it will now serve out the page when the browser asks for it. And then it will actually allow the browser to ask these questions and run code to answer them. And we can watch all this happen through the wonders of JavaScript debugging. So I'm going to go into the debugger. There you go. Run and debug, and hopefully this will give you confidence to do the same thing with your programs and see what they do. The server's now running. There we go. Server listen 8080, so we've got everything where it should be. Let's go back to our browser. Here we are. This is presently browsing the wonderful site. I don't want to browse that. I want to browse localhost 8080 index.htm, which is very helpfully been auto typed. Everything has to be right about this, otherwise it won't work. The port number has to be right and index.html has to be right as well, otherwise it'll send the wrong file. If I hit return now, it will get to that point, and then after a while I will get an error because look here, the program has stopped at get start, because what's happened now is the browser has asked the question, and if I let this program run on, which I can do, it'll actually, the browser will come to life. If I hit that, the program can run, and I will go back, and we'll go back here now and we'll look at, oh look, it's done it, and the number of cheeses left is 3 and the width and the height of the screen is 10. Let's have a look at what really happened then. So we saw the program hit this breakpoint and it starts to build a web response. And it says 200, which is a good number. That means everything has worked. We set the header with the content type to say you're getting back some JSON, because you are. I build an object very like the one we built in the example about JSON, but feeding in these values of grid width and grid height and the length of the cheeses array. And we then convert that object into a string. We then log a message to say, hey, this is what I've done and this is what I've sent back. I then write that response and end it. So at that point, the browser knows the size of the screen, the size of the grid, and it also knows how many cheeses have been deployed, and it will then draw the board. I can show you what happened again if I go back here into the browser and I refresh this page. Is the breakpoint still there, we ask ourselves? Yes, it is. So if I refresh this page, it will stick again. And I can step through here, doop, 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 one line at a time, write it back, end the response, and bingo, my web page lights up correctly. It was stuck before and now it's lit up. So this is what's happening. If I go into the, we can actually watch it even in, let's do this, why not, we've got time. If I press F12, that's the wrong F12. If I press F12 again, then I'll open up the debug window, please. There you go. And I can have a look at my source code. And I've got 2 bits of code. I've got the index page and client.mjs. This is the bit that gets the request from the server. This is the bit that says I would like to ask a question. Let's put a breakpoint here and reload the program. Now, when will it stop? Will it stop in the server or browser? Server or browser? think about it, and then I'll give you an answer. Okay, I can't shout it out really loud. I'll probably hear you. No, the breakpoint which will be hit first is the one we have just made, because this is the one that gets the data. I'm going to run the program now, reload the code, reload the page. The page now needs to know, oh, it's at a break. Is it at a breakpoint? Let's have a go. Let it run on. Otherwise, we will never get anywhere. That's now running and happy. This one's now hit that breakpoint. The URL it's trying to hit is localhost 8080 getstart.json, and the handler is a function called setupGame, which is given the JSON that comes back. And so this is about to ask the question, but there's no breakpoint being hit in the server just yet because the question has not been asked. So if I go back here again and I hit run on, which is down here, isn't it annoying that the buttons look ever so slightly different? Yes, it is. Although they're getting closer. Yeah, they're getting closer. Yeah, they look almost the same, but not quite. So if I now hit run to make it run on, then we go past the breakpoint and we ask the question. And we are stuck because the browser has now hit its breakpoint, giving you the answer back. So if I hit go on here, everything gets finished. So what you have seen is the browser assembling the request and sending it out, and then the server getting the information and sending it back. And the key, the thing that links them, is this address here, getstart.json, because that's the place in the server where you can ask the question and get the answer. So I quite enjoyed that. Hope you did as well. Anyway, that's that one. On with the rest of the book.